Hello friends, my name is Christopher. In this video we're going to talk about staining and sealing a cedar fence.
Ooh, satisfying.
This video is part 5 of 7 in an in-depth look series to this big fence project that I did. This summer I ripped down my entire old fence and repurposed 95% of the wood. So I made sure I ripped off my pickets really well. I power washed them. They got fresh cuts and they were all stained and sealed. My final costs for this entire project were just over $5,000. Of course, there's no labor cost in that, and there's next to no lumber cost too, because I'm repurposing all of this for 400 feet of cedar fence. It's ridiculous. I mean, I did this whole project for about 17-20 cents on the dollar if I would have, contracted it out, because lumber prices are ridiculous. But anyways, I feel like this is a super important step that a lot of people ignore. I look in my neighborhood and there are very few sealed fences, and after the course of a summer or a full year at least, they have entirely grayed out a new cedar fence. They look nice when it rains. You get that nice rich amber color, gold, whatever your hue is, reds. But that's it, and this does not for me. So of that $5,000, I saved all of my receipts and I tracked it in a spreadsheet. 7.5% of my costs went to stain and sealant, which is so negligible. It's a couple $100, sure, but that adds a beautiful characteristic to it. Now, as you can see in the footage, for the most part, I used an actual sealing gun, a paint gun, right? This is one that I got from my big box store several years ago. I've used it for building my shed, firewood rack, my kids' play set, so I've gotten a lot of use out of it. It doesn't require pressured air or anything. I just plug it in, run a cord, and go, and I can fill it up a quart at a time. And that was perfect. It pulverizes your, it doesn't pulverize, but it makes your liquid into a nice aerosol form, coating everything evenly and certainly reducing the amount of time and effort that you would have to do instead of brush strokes for absolutely everything. The only parts of the fence that I didn't use the power sprayer on actually were the posts, just because of the nature of them being too close to my house, too close to the garden, too close to the neighbor's property, etc. I didn't want any kind of the aerosol going onto, let's say a neighbor's garage or something. So here I did take the effort and I used an actual brush and I painted that by hand. But the rest of them I used a power washer, or I used a power sprayer, I should say. So what kind of stuff did I use? Well, I use an exterior grade sealant. This here on all of my pickets is just a clear cedar tone sealant. It is rated highly for decks and fences. The same with this stuff, except this is a solid, right? You could get solid, semi-transparent, clear. Even though this is clear, it has kind of an amber tone to it. Neither here nor there. The solid is great because my posts are not actually cedar. Neither are my rails. These are pressure treated and ground rated because they're going right into the ground. And I didn't want to just leave them to gray out. I thought they would look stupid. I couldn't use the same kind of clear sealant as this here. So it paid to add a solid stain. Looks like paint, right? But it's not. It's a different kind of chemical. And I think the multi-tone works really well with the fence, as you can see in the footage. This tone actually, from your vantage point, you might be able to see is the same color as the trim along my windows in my house. So from an aesthetic point of view, everything flows very nicely from fence into house and the rest of the landscaping. So is it worth it? Absolutely. Does it take time? Oh boy, does it ever, and I did this the hard way. I could have mounted everything and then sprayed it, but then I wouldn't have gotten the parts on the back that come in contact with this wood. I wanted to make sure every single bit of the surface was covered, right? So that we weren't getting wood on wood, which would ultimately get wet and would rot. It'll still ultimately get wet, right? Water is patient. It'll get in everywhere, but because of the fact that they're coated, they are extra protected. And so we'll get a longer life out of this fence, and it will look beautiful, right? Form can meet function. There's no reason that a fence that you put so much time and money and effort and pride into can't look good, as well as being sturdy as shit. So pay the extra money and go that extra step. You'll be glad you did. You think I did the right thing? What would you have done differently? Leave a respectful comment down below. And if you're here, you might be interested in part 6, which is, I'm going to call this one Building a Shadowbox. Fence, rails, pickets, and caps. Love my notes. Tune in for that. I got a real long video on this whole 400-foot fence project, and I got it condensed down to a couple minutes too. If you're in a rush, check those out. Have you done a fence project? Let me know. Thanks a lot for watching. I've been Christopher. Have a wonderful day.